your gut is your digestive tract, okay? When food enters your body through your mouth, it needs to go through the small intestines, and the small intestines is where your food actually is broken down into. So your pancreas releases enzymes and bile from your liver to break down the food so nutrients can enter your bloodstream, right? Now, if this part of it is a little bit disrupted, this could lead to poor nutrition absorption, poor breakdown of nutrients entering your body, which I will talk about later. And then as it enters your large intestine is there, absorbs large quantities of water, electrolytes, and removes a lot of waste products you don't need. But if there is problems there as well, then things can get stuck, or kind of back up, but also possibly waste products or toxins aren't removed as well. So then you would have more toxicity in your body, right? So first of all, is understanding that. Okay, now in your digestive tract, you have something called your microflora. So your microflora is the complex ecosystem of bacteria that lives in your digestive tract. And your microbiome, everyone kind of has a slightly different microbiome, it's kind of like a fingerprint, but it's developed throughout your life from the moment you're born. It's not like you're born with it, but you're actually, from the moment you're born, your body is producing all the different microbiomes. So your current microbiome is really effective from your birth, how you were brought up, what foods you ate, the stresses you had in your life, puberty, pregnancy, and menopause. So it's a combination of many, many things together. And so that's why there's a lot of standard principles, but also everyone is slightly unique, and some things, as you guys know, will bother some people, and some people aren't bothered by other things, and that's really dependent on the bacterial balance in their body. Okay, so here's another fun fact. Did you know that there's 100 trillion gut bacterial cells in your intestinal tract? That is crazy. So 100 trillion gut bacteria cells. That is 10 times the number of cells in your body. So you have so much bacteria sitting in your gut, but that's a good thing if you have good balance in your bacteria equilibrium. So if your good bacteria overweighs the bad bacteria, then you're doing fine. But the problem becomes when the bad bacteria overtakes the good bacteria, then you start having imbalances in your gut flora, and this leads to a lot of issues and digestive issues, whether it's digestion issues, bloating, gas, more serious issues like ulcerative colitis, Crohn's diseases, celiac, and all of this type of stuff. It can go from a spectrum, from your everyday disturbances to major diseases, right? So what is your gut flora affected by? So your gut flora is affected by stress, antibiotics, illnesses, your food and diet. I don't like the word diet, but the way you eat, and aging. So you can't really change your aging. Antibiotics, sometimes you have to take it, but when you don't have to, you try not to take it as much as possible, but sometimes you have no choice. Illnesses, sometimes you have to deal with the illness. But there's two things I do really believe: that your food, what you eat, and your stress are things that are really fully controllable in your life, right? So those are things that we'll talk more about, but it's to recognize how is your gut flora affected. It's by all these factors, right? All right, so let's dive more into it. Like I said, I'm giving you some background right now, and then we will kind of get some of you guys to participate and talk about some practical applications. So the first thing is to talk a little bit about a gut-brain axis, okay? So what's really crazy is obviously you have 100 trillion different microorganisms within your gut, but also within your gut, you might not know this, but there's 100 million neurons in your gut. So this is huge because it actually functions like a second brain. It's considered like a second organ. It has major neurotransmitters and is sending signals all the time to the brain. So in a kind of scientific way, so the gut-brain axis has it's bidirectional, right? It goes both ways. I know, crazy, Marcella. So that's why we talk about food and nutrition so much, maybe this makes more sense why this impacts your body tremendously if you don't understand your nutrition, because of so many like neurons and amount of bacteria, microorganisms living down in your gut, right? So it's bidirectional, meaning it sends signals back and forth. But here's the thing you might not know. These are some crazy fun facts, fun, but also empowering for all of you. So when your brain communicates to your gut, over 75% of the output from the brain goes through something called the pontomedullary complex. It goes through a vagus nerve, and then it goes down into, like, the brain transmits signals down to the gut. So 75%. So 3/4 of your brain power goes actually towards your gut, which is crazy because that means your brain is actually functioning all the time to process what's happening in the food that you eat, in what you're inputting, what it has to digest. And so, if you ever wonder maybe why, nutrition affects your energy, it's partially that. Like if you have really stress out the gut, then you're going to take away a lot of the energy from your body, right? That's the thing, is that there's a huge connection from the brain to the gut, and then the gut obviously sends signals back up through the sympathetic and parasympathetic system, and so there's always this communication between the two. So how many of you have experienced where you say, I have butterflies in my stomach, or when you're very nervous, you feel it in your stomach? How many of you have felt that before? I know definitely I have. Or suddenly, like, before you have to go and do a big talk, you feel like you have to run to the bathroom. So if you've ever experienced like this, gut brain kind of communication, you'll know that actually it is communicating with each other all the time with 100 million neurons. Like, that's crazy, right? More simply put, if the brain does something or is very stressed, it is going to affect the gut. The gut is stressed, it's going to affect the brain, right? So this is really fascinating for sure. You guys all know the butterflies in stomach. You guys have felt this before, and Yvette, you felt it before. Exactly. So here's another thing about hormones. Now, the gut contains 400 times more serotonin and 500 times more melatonin than the brain. Another crazy fact, yeah? So the gut contains 400 times more serotonin and 500 times more melatonin than the brain. So if you ever think about, like, sometimes why you crave things, Jennifer, you're on here. This is so funny. We just talked about it. Is sometimes you want that feel-good feeling. Is, yes, it hits the brain serotonin, but your gut has serotonin. Serotonin is the hormone that makes you feel good. So sometimes when you are like, I want to eat something good, is it really you physically need it, or is it because you hormonally need it? Which we all know, when you hit certain hormones, sometimes you're like, I want to have this, I want to have that. And that's because your gut has hormones in it, which is kind of crazy. And then 500 times more melatonin than the brain. And melatonin is the hormone. You guys didn't know that. Yeah, that's awesome to know. This is kind of new for you. So melatonin is the sleep hormone, or kind of regulates into your circadian rhythm. And so think about this as well. If you don't eat well, and a lot of you who struggle with sleep, who struggles with sleep here? A lot of women I talk to struggle with sleep. A lot of it can be connected and related it back to the food you eat, because of the amount of food that's in your, or the amount of hormones that's in your digestive tract. So it's really, really cool to go like, whoa, didn't know. Just think of it like a second brain. Basically, your gut is like a second brain, right? As well, you guys may not have known this, but you might. 70 to 80% of your body's immune system is housed in the gut, right? It's kind of associated with what's called gut-associated lymphoids that is communicating with each other all the time. Why this is particularly important too is on our topic about inflammation, because if your gut is constantly inflamed, it's going to feel like it's under attack all the time. So if you don't understand how to eat, this will trigger a lot of high inflammation response in your system, because it houses 70% of your inflammation, right? And I already spoke about this, but I want to give you some context on this. So the gut contains, I said this already, but the gut contains over 100 trillion microorganisms, but from 1,000 different species with 10 times more microbes than human cells, and it has 100 times more genes than in our human genes. So all the things in your gut here has a crazy amount of like not only microorganisms, but like the microbes and like the DNA. Like, it's crazy what's happening down there. But 100 trillion, just to give you a comparison. So there is 8 billion people alive on this earth. Okay, so 100 trillion microorganisms in just your gut is 12,500 times more than the entire population of our world. So if this doesn't like blow your mind, like, I don't know what will. But yeah, drop some emojis or bomb or whatever, because I was like, that's so crazy. Like, in your gut has more than the the amount of people alive on our earth right now. So it's really, really crazy to think about. And so if this is new, or if this is like, wow, I didn't know the gut is so important, drop some bombs, drop some emojis, or like, wow, whatever, because I think this is important for your basis of understanding why you need to be very particular and protective of your gut, of the foods you eat, of your nutrition. No wonder I'm bloated, Vivian. Yeah, there's just so much behind this, right?